Today, I will be discussing everything pertaining to morning routines, the vast benefits of having a morning routine, how to construct your own morning routine, the do's and do nots of doing so, some caveats that come with the territory, my own personal morning routine, and some final thoughts. So stay tuned for this one. I think that having a morning routine is one of the greatest things that you can do for becoming a more productive human in your life. And I think that a lot of you may gain a lot of value out of this. And even if you don't, I think that some reminders could come in handy over the course of your future. Okay, so why do people have morning routines? Well, the most important reason why people have morning routines is because when you develop a bunch of habits, healthy habits, first thing in the morning, these are little behaviors that over time gently nudge you in the direction of where you want your life to go and unfold. If you slowly implement many things in the morning that you do over the course of days, weeks, months, years, it may not result in much in a week's time, but think a year down the road, 5 years down the road, if you are doing this. Let's say you throw in the morning routine of going for a run, for example. If you go for a run every day for 5 years, you are going to be in much, much better shape than you did when you started on day one. So I think that the most important aspect of a morning routine is nudging your life into the direction of where you want it to go and accessing long-term payouts by sticking to something that you know that will better your life for good. Now, I'd like to emphasize that to get these great gains of change in your life, you need to actually consistently show up and enact the morning routine day after day. You can't just go a whole week without doing any of the healthy habits that you have laid aside for yourself. So the bottom line when it comes to a morning routine is whatever routine you will stick to is what is ultimately right for you. No two morning routines are likely going to be exactly the same because what works for me may not work for you. What works for you may not work for somebody else. It's ultimately what you can stick to long term that is going to provide you with the best results and enact the biggest change in your life. Now, I will add that personal variability is strongly encouraged. I implore you to really test out different things and really experiment, try and build the perfect concoction that feels best for you upon waking up in the morning. So, in other words, don't just do some cookie cutter routine that somebody else has created just because you see that they're seeing success with it. Really take the time, dial in what you think is right for you, and go from there. So, throughout this video, I'm going to give you some guidelines that I like to have, some important staples that are a part of my routine and could be a part of yours. But again, these are just guidelines, and you don't actually need to do it exactly how I'm going to lay it out. Now, I'd like to discuss the do's and do nots of a solid morning routine because I do believe that there are certain things that most morning routines may like to include. So let's start with the do nots. My number one do not is to stay in bed right after you have woken up. And especially staying in bed and checking your phone. When you have a dopamine hit and some blue light shining on your face right when you wake up in the morning and you don't get out of bed but stay in the sheets and don't do anything, that enables procrastination and it enables negative feelings of well-being. Another aspect is that when you check your phone first thing upon waking and not get out of the bed, then before you fall asleep and while you're asleep, your brain is going to be constantly anticipating that dopamine rush that it will get when you check your Instagram or respond to that text message or email. So for me, I make sure that I get right out of bed and I don't keep my phone anywhere near my bedroom. That especially helps with these do nots of do not stay in bed, do not check your phone upon waking. Another couple of do nots is procrastinating on things that you probably should be doing in the morning, like taking a shower or going for a walk or having a cup of coffee. Just starting your day. Procrastinating and just laying around is not doing you any favors, and it is harming you in the long run. Another one that goes alongside this is enacting negative habits in the morning, which is basically doing the opposite of a beneficial morning routine and doing something negative. For instance, by enacting a negative habit of smoking with a cup of coffee, for example, that is not reinforcing good habits that you want in your morning routine, and is instead reinforcing negative habits that are potentially harmful for your overall health and well-being. Getting into the do's of a morning routine, I think that light exposure is especially helpful for waking us up in the morning. So having a bright light stationed right by your bed can help you fully adjust and wake up. Another one is, of course, getting right out of bed. And I think that the most important thing besides those two is actually rehydrating, because while you are sleeping for 8 or so hours or whatever, you are not drinking any water. At least I hope you're not drinking any water, because then you wouldn't be sleeping. So you really need to be hydrating very closely after waking up, because this will rehydrate your body and get you primed for the rest of your day. Beyond that, I think that just getting yourself ready for the day ahead is very important. I like to take a morning shower, maybe a cold shower afterwards, and then do some skincare and just get myself fully put together for tackling whatever the day may have in store for me. And then beyond that, it is really up to your interpretation of what you'd like to do. For me, I do a little bit of breath work, a little bit of meditation, a morning walk, some journaling. Some people like having to-do lists and some gratitude. You could definitely throw that in there if you'd like as well. But beyond all of the previously mentioned do's and do nots, this is where I'd really implore you to construct your own morning routine, something where you feel successful. I know a lot of people who like to exercise first thing in the morning. That's not personally what I do, but many people do like to do that. Now that you are aware of my personal do's and do nots when it comes to constructing a morning routine, I'd like to emphasize that this takes time to build. You shouldn't expect yourself to just implement all of these different things overnight and stick to it forever. This is going to take time, and it especially took time for me. It's not like I just woke up one day and did each of these things in succession and stuck with it. It took at least a year for me to really nail it down and get it exactly how I want it to be. I first started with simply getting up and taking a morning shower and then going for a morning walk and journaling. That was my first routine, and now it is much more beefed up and personalized towards my goals. I've even had periods where my morning routine would take upwards of 4 hours, if you can believe it or not. It took so long that it took up probably a third of my day, and that's just really not sustainable. So I really suggest that you start small, start with 1 or 2 things, and then over time gradually build up, but make sure that you really implement these things as habits that you will stick to long term, so that you get those long-term benefits that I previously mentioned. So in conclusion, a morning routine should follow certain parameters that I have previously laid, but also be personalized for you. Remember, it takes time to build up these habits and develop the perfect morning routine that will assist you in your life and with your goals. But as long as you start small and stick to it and really give it everything you got, then I promise you that having a morning routine will enhance your life for the better and help you become the person that you are destined to be and you want to become.